When you look at a blood test report, it's usually filled with numbers that seem confusing. But there's one small number that doctors pay close attention to: creatinine. Most people skip past it without thinking, yet it quietly tells one of the most important stories about your health: how well your kidneys are working. In this video, we'll break down what creatinine really is, how levels change with age, what the tests reveal, and why shifts in this number should never be ignored. Stick around, because by the end, you'll have a crystal clear picture of what your creatinine test is telling you and why it matters more than you think. First, let's understand what creatinine really is. To put it simply, creatinine is a waste product that comes from your muscles. Every time your muscles use energy, they break down a compound called creatine, and creatinine is what's left behind. You can think of it like the exhaust fumes from your body's energy engine. The engine runs fine, but it always leaves behind a little waste. Now, this waste doesn't just sit in your body. It needs to be filtered out, and that's where your kidneys come in. Your kidneys are like high-powered coffee filters. They work non-stop, 24/7, cleaning your blood by removing extra water, toxins, and creatinine. If your kidneys are healthy, this process runs smoothly and your creatinine levels stay steady. But here's the twist: when your kidneys aren't working properly, that waste begins to pile up. And unlike some health issues that take months or years to notice, creatinine shows up clearly in your blood test. Healthline explains that your kidneys contain millions of tiny filters called nephrons. These are the microscopic workers scrubbing your blood clean. But if those nephrons get damaged by disease, injury, or even natural aging, creatinine doesn't get cleared as effectively. That's why a single number on your lab report can be such a strong signal about your kidney health. Why doctors pay close attention. Now, you might wonder, why do doctors care so much about creatinine? The answer is simple but scary. Kidney disease is sneaky. In its early stages, you often don't feel sick. You might have normal energy, normal appetite, no swelling, and no obvious changes in urination. But quietly, your kidneys could already be struggling. By the time obvious symptoms show up, the damage may already be advanced. That's where a creatinine test becomes a lifesaver. According to Medical News Today, a rise in creatinine can point to a wide range of issues. Sometimes it's something minor, like being dehydrated or eating a very protein-heavy meal. But other times, it signals more serious conditions like chronic kidney disease, kidney infections, or even a blocked urinary tract. And here's something many people don't realize. Creatinine isn't just about your kidneys. It can also reveal clues about your heart. If your heart isn't pumping blood strongly enough, less blood reaches the kidneys and creatinine starts to rise. So this little test connects kidney health to your entire body's circulation. Doctors never interpret creatinine in isolation. They look at your full health picture, your history, your lifestyle, your risk factors like diabetes or high blood pressure, and sometimes even your medications. That's because conditions like diabetes and hypertension silently damage kidneys over time. If you already have those risks, even a slight rise in creatinine becomes a red flag. Creatinine levels by age. What's normal? This is the part most people are curious about, the actual numbers. WebMD notes that in men, the typical range is 0.9 to 1.3 milligrams per deciliter. For women, it's usually 0.6 to 1.1 milligrams per deciliter. The reason for the difference isn't about health, it's about muscle mass. Since men generally have more muscle, they naturally produce more creatinine. But numbers don't stay fixed forever. As we age, our muscle mass naturally declines. Less muscle means less creatinine being made. That's why an older adult may have a normal low number on paper, but if it's unusually low for them, it could actually signal something important. Children are on the other end of the spectrum. Their muscles are still developing, so their creatinine levels are much lower compared to adults. A toddler's healthy level looks nothing like an adult's, and that's exactly why doctors always factor in age before calling a result normal. Here's another interesting point. What's normal for one person may not be normal for another. Imagine two people get tested on the same day. A bodybuilder with large muscles might have a creatinine level slightly higher than average, but for them that's perfectly healthy. Meanwhile, a petite elderly woman may naturally have a very low level. Both are normal, just for different reasons. What really matters here is context. A single number on its own can't tell the whole story. Doctors look at patterns over time, your lifestyle, your symptoms, and sometimes pair this test with others like the glomerular filtration rate, GFR, or blood urea nitrogen, BUN, to get the full picture. Think of it like a puzzle. Creatinine is just one piece, but when combined with other tests, it can reveal whether your kidneys are stressed, whether your blood is carrying waste properly, or whether other organs like your heart are playing a role. That's why instead of panicking over one abnormal result, doctors often recommend follow-up testing. Repeated results, trends over months, and how they match your medical history are far more telling than one isolated reading. What happens during the test? If you've never had a creatinine test before, don't worry. It's one of the simplest tests you can get. As the CDC explains, the process is quick and straightforward. A healthcare provider takes a small blood sample, usually from a vein in your arm. The whole thing takes just a few minutes. You might feel a tiny prick or notice mild bruising afterward, but side effects are rare and temporary. Unlike some tests, you usually don't need to fast. However, your doctor may ask about medications because certain drugs, like antibiotics, painkillers, or blood pressure medications, can affect your results. Often, doctors also order an eGFR, estimated glomerular filtration rate, test alongside creatinine. This calculation adjusts for age, sex, and sometimes race, giving a more complete picture of how effectively your kidneys filter waste. In other cases, doctors might order a BUN blood urea nitrogen test. Taken together, these numbers paint a fuller story of your kidney health than creatinine alone ever could. High or low results, what do they mean? Now comes the most important part, interpreting the results. When creatinine levels are higher than normal, doctors pay attention right away. Sometimes the reason is simple. Maybe you were dehydrated, or you had an intense workout that temporarily spiked your levels. Certain medications can also push the number up. These situations usually resolve quickly. But if the number stays high or keeps climbing, it could point to something more serious: kidney infections, urinary blockages, reduced blood flow, or long-term damage from conditions like diabetes and high blood pressure. In those cases, doctors don't stop at one test. They compare your current results with your past ones, repeat the test if needed, and check other indicators before deciding the next steps. Now let's flip to the other side. Low creatinine levels are less common and usually less concerning. They often show up in people with very low muscle mass, such as older adults, people with malnutrition, or those with muscle wasting conditions. Pregnancy can also lower creatinine naturally because blood flow and kidney filtration increase during this time. In those cases, low levels don't mean kidney problems. They reflect normal body changes. The key takeaway is this: a single number never tells the full story. Doctors look at patterns, context, and supporting tests before making conclusions. Everyday factors that influence creatinine. Many people don't realize that creatinine can shift with everyday habits. Hydration is a big one. If you're dehydrated, your blood becomes more concentrated and creatinine looks higher. Drink enough water and the levels balance out. That's why doctors often advise retesting after hydration before making a diagnosis. Diet also plays a role. Eating a lot of red meat or protein-heavy meals can temporarily raise creatinine. Supplements like creatine, popular among athletes, can also push levels up. None of this necessarily means kidney damage. It just shows how sensitive the test is to what you put in your body. Medications are another factor. Common drugs for blood pressure, pain relief, or infections can affect kidney function and alter creatinine results. That's why doctors always ask for a medication history before interpreting the test. Even exercise makes a difference. Intense workouts break down more muscle, which produces more creatinine. For athletes or people who suddenly increase their training, slightly higher numbers may be completely normal. Why you shouldn't ignore this test. At the end of the day, creatinine may look like just a small number on a lab report, but its meaning is huge. It can be the very first warning sign that your kidneys are under stress, even before you feel any symptoms. Ignoring it could mean missing the chance to catch kidney disease early when it's still manageable. The earlier kidney issues are detected, the more options you and your doctor have for treatment. Sometimes it's as simple as adjusting your diet, drinking more water, or changing medications. Other times, it may mean closer monitoring or more advanced care. But everything starts with paying attention to your test results. So, the next time you see the word creatinine on your lab report, you'll know it's not just another random number, it's a window into your kidney health and by extension, your overall well-being. If you found this helpful, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with friends and family, and make sure to subscribe for more health insights that could protect your future. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.